All media in this video is used for the purpose of review and commentary under terms of fair use. All footage, music, and images used belong to their respective companies. Viewer discretion is advised. Calm your tits.
Hello and welcome to my show. I'm G.A.R's resident anime geek, the VGViking. For those who might not know me, I run a small gaming channel on YouTube, but I also like to watch, review, and talk about anime and manga. Now, the series that everyone has had their eyeballs glued to as of late is Attack on Titan. It's mega popular, it just started airing on Cartoon Network, and nobody will shut the hell up about it. When I first watched it, I didn't like it. Well, since the English dub just started, I decided to watch the whole series on Crunchyroll, just for this review. And after watching a few more episodes, I can safely say, I still don't like it. Attack on Titan is a lot of neat ideas that try to mix up the kaiju genre, but doesn't really do anything with them. It's pretty by the books as far as anime goes. Now, something that everyone I know who has watched this series says is that the action scenes are simply awe-inspiring. And I have to agree, they are. They're some of the best fights I've ever seen in an animated series. Now, I wouldn't put them on the same level as Dragon Ball Z's fights, or even the fights in Kinnikuman or Ultimate Muscle. But you wouldn't go wrong by comparing it to Fist of the North Star or even Hajime no Ippo. And that's until the 13th episode when the fights get cartoonishly stupid. There's a part in the 13th episode where a character is running around looking for, new gear to replace his faulty equipment. All the while trying not to get nommed by some of the most retarded looking monsters ever put on paper. Seriously, imagine if instead of Godzilla attacking Tokyo, we had a 60-foot tall Tim Curry. In drag. During this fight, a Titan is diving to eat him, and some chick, whose name I can't fucking remember, dive kicks it in the throat like she's fucking Akuma from Street Fighter or something. Like, what, she weighed enough to change its trajectory? No, she didn't. She probably would have just landed on its throat while it eats her useless comrade. That's something that really bothers me in the series. They tell you the names of all these characters, and only 4 of them are worth remembering. Not because they're important or cool, well, Levi is, but the only reason you remember the other 3 characters is because the writer insists that they are the main characters instead of Levi. He's a heck of a lot cooler than Eren, and I think it would be way more watchable from his point of view. The giant monster battles I was promised are practically non-existent. So most of the action scenes are spent watching people swing around like Down syndrome Spider-Man, trying to cut off the napes of Titans' necks and doing their best not to become giant chow. And if by chance a character does get eaten, you most likely aren't going to care. I've heard this show described as unapologetic in terms of what characters get killed off, but really it's just poorly written. The characters that get killed off have no personality. There's a scene at the start of the Battle of Tross where pretty much most of Eren's team, save for himself and Armin, are eaten by Titans. In a good show, these characters would have had some development to them. I mean, hell, even the cannon fodder characters like Ginyu Force and Bobbity had more to them. These characters were just written into the story to die and nothing else. Their deaths were pointless, as was their existence. I didn't feel sorry for any of them because I had no idea who they were. Prior to getting axed, they had very little screen time and just as little dialogue. The plot is flimsier than rice paper soaked in olive oil. The show follows Eren Yeager, who've no relations to the Ultimate Muscle character, as that Yeager at least had a personality. An angsty teen who discovers he has a powerful bioweapon. His best friend, who's virtually useless, and his equally useless love intro. Oh my god, this is G.A.R. Minus the evil organization. Actually, by the end of the series, I'm not sure if I can rule that out, because it does seem to be going with the whole conspiracy thing towards the end. And, oddly enough, I find that this show has a lot in common with G.A.R. The main cast consists of the hero, his best friend, and a female love interest with a very sisterly relationship with the hero and his best friend. Hero stumbles upon a new power that could help him save the world, and a certain group wishes to weaponize it to take over the planet. Essentially. Mind you, the military isn't quite as evil as Kronos. Hell, not many companies are as evil as Kronos, save for maybe Disney and Samsung. Well, Eren's all happy and stuff, living with his not-dead mother in post-apocalyptic not Germany, until giant beasts called Titans break into the city walls and eat his mother. Thus, he vows to kill all the Titans. 5 years later, him and his gang of useless chums, 2 of them, have enlisted in the military and have spent half a decade training to fight Titans. And boy, do they ever... Nope. Nuh-uh. Yeah, no. You know, maybe this whole kill all the Titans thing wasn't such a good idea. But nope, they can't just axe off the hero because he's actually a Titan under all that human. Yeah, when I saw this, I was like, please explain. And then they did. And then I wish that they never explained it. It's a stupid plot device. One of which I won't spoil here. But it's really, really, really stupid. So after being eaten by a Titan, Eren becomes one and whoops all sorts of kaiju ass. These fight scenes are so cool that it almost makes the series worth watching. Almost. Well, fun to watch. All good things must come to an end, and we are quickly dragged back into the story, where Eren has reverted back to his squishy man size, and him and his useless friends are about to get axed off by the military. This is one of the worst scenes in an anime I've ever seen. I seriously kept asking if it was ever going to end, and found myself checking the time quite frequently. Normally I wouldn't mind, even the best anime have slow moments, but whereas in a show like Golgo 13, the slow, subtle moments are to build up intrigue and mystery, Attack on Titan's slow moments simply pad out the runtime. They don't build any character, and the story moves at its own pace, which is good, but its pace is that of a dead snail on tarmac. It's slow and grating, and times that are meant to pull me into the universe that Mr. Isayama created only serve to annoy me and get on my nerves. In Dragon Ball Z, I didn't mind the talking in between fights because the fights were fun to watch, and the talking was setting up the fights. It also helped that I liked the cast of Dragon Ball Z. Goku is a very unique hero who, while straightforward and obviously white as far as morals go, he's at least interesting. Eren never progresses past, I want to kill the Titans. Never. He isn't a character so much as he is an archetype. In 10 years, people are going to remember Goku and Kenshiro and Sho Fukamachi and Captain Harlock. But in 5 years, people aren't likely to remember Eren's name. He's not unique, he's not interesting, he's not even a good hero. He's Cloud Strife with a giant monster form. Actually, the more that I look at Eren's Titan form, the more familiar he looks to me. Oh shit. They modeled him after Yushin Okami! You know, I'm actually really happy about that. As a huge MMA fan, I feel that MMA is ignored in anime. I mean, sure, you have scenes of Optimus Prime going for a sub on Megatron, but other than that, you rarely ever see anime that have some MMA influence. Well, there's Baki the Grappler, but the less I talk about that, the better. After the battle for Trost, Eren is put on trial to make sure he's on the side of the squishy, yummy humans, or the most retarded-looking creatures outside of Pokemon. After a rough trial, Eren is put into the Survey Corps, a group of elites who are just there to raise the show's body count. Seriously, aside from Eren and Levi, pretty much all of them die. So Eren and the Corps go on an expedition for some reason, I didn't care to pay attention. During the whole thing, the group's attacked by a female Titan, something that was thought to be non-existent. Kinda like a good Frank Miller comic, it exists in myth and nothing else. After about 8 or so episodes, we finally cut to the good stuff. Eren transforms and him and She-Hulk are duking it out in the forest. It is sick with a capital S. But there's one thing that bugs me about this whole fight. Now, this might be nitpicking, but Eren has Annie mounted, and he throws heavy straights from the top. It would have been far more efficient and effective if he was throwing elbows or hooks. It's a lot easier to avoid a straight punch than it is to avoid a hook or an elbow. Better yet, why not go for an arm triangle? But then it's stated that Titans don't weigh anything, so perhaps a submission that requires one to use their weight wouldn't be very effective. Another question, if Titans weigh nothing, then why can't Annie get up when Eren has her mounted? If they weigh nothing, she should easily be able to sweep him and get into his guard. Or at least she could have gotten butterfly guard and then worked her way into mission control to get him into an omoplata. This probably went over your heads. If it didn't, and you got all that, then post it in the comments and I'll see if I have a fuck to give. After the fight, Not Show is kidnapped by Annie, you know, the chick who's had 2 minutes of screen time prior to appearing as a Titan, but he's quickly rescued by Not Mizuki and Not Makishima, thus making the whole scene pointless. And yeah, I figured it was Annie long before they revealed it. It was pretty obvious. She saw Eren change, she was at the rally for the Survey Corps. Other than that, there's really no motive for her to be a Titan. At least not yet. Afterwards, when the Survey Corps are returning to the city, they try to invoke an emotion from the viewer by having the family members of all the deceased characters waiting for their loved ones to return home. In any other series, maybe I would have shed a tear, or felt bad. But here, a lot of them died because of their own stupidity. Half of Eren's group died because they didn't want him to transform. If he did transform, he could have fought Annie, while someone snuck up and cut the nape of her neck. Less casualties would have happened if they just let him transform. Like, seriously, how fucking stupid can you be? You should never take on a monster one at a time. They could have saved me the time and saved their comrades' lives all at the same time, instead of trying to go for the whole feel sorry for characters who have as much character development as a potato dumpling. The series finishes really strong in the last quarter of the 24th episode and the entire 25th episode. The group decides to ambush Annie as they suspect she's the female Titan. It's a bunch of boring, pointless talking about stuff we already knew, but towards the middle of the episode, Eren is fatally wounded and while dying manages to bring upon the series' very first fuck yeah moment. You know it, when the hero's had enough and he finally decides to go all out and whoop some serious ass. He charges headfirst into battle and delivers a straight right so badass that Captain fucking Falcon would have shed a tear out of pride. This is the first time in the entire show's run that I stood up and cheered. It is the only time I can say I even actually had fun with this show. And that's sort of why anime is what it is. Because the best ones don't try to force us to take them seriously. They want us to have just as much fun watching them as the writers did writing them. When you watch something like Gurren Lagann or Dragon Ball Z, they know how stupid their plot is. But the whole point isn't to convince you it's not stupid. It's to make you have fun with how stupid it is. Gurren Lagann's whole go big or suck a dick way of doing things is what made it so great. It was fun, even during the times that other shows would have tried to play it cool. TTGL is like that one friend of yours that wears cat ears, everyone stares at them and makes fun of them, but there they are acting like it's common fucking place and not giving a damn. Attack on Titan would wear the cat ears and go "Nyah" and slap anyone that refused to wear cat ears in the face. It's far too serious and at times downright boring. Well, okay. I went into this review demanding I not be too cruel on Attack on Titan, despite how stupid of a title it has, and to be honest, I wish I were a little crueler. It's a boring series with awkward pacing, uninteresting characters, and some of the most average writing ever. The fights with Eren are the show's crowning moments, but they're far too brief and infrequent to be enjoyable. Most of the fights are spent watching people who don't matter get killed, while Eren contemplates doing something. Eventually, he'll do it, and it might actually pay off. And although the show's finale is great, and dare I say well executed, it doesn't make up for the show's slow, sluggish pace and painfully slow dialogue. I feel, though, that if I must say one more good thing about the series, it's that the opening song is pretty decent. It doesn't compare to the openings of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure per se, but it's solid and it gets you pumped up for the show. Such a shame that you're pretty much getting pumped up for one of the most mediocre pieces of schlock in a long time. However, I can't rightfully call it a bad anime, it's just not a very good one. The action sequences are a bright jewel that adorns this crown of mediocrity. If Attack on Titan were an actor, they'd be Charlie Sheen. Everyone knows their name and what they did, but there isn't much good in them. What is good is spectacular, however. So perhaps it wasn't wise to open up my anime reviews with a negative review of a popular show. But if you stick around for the next review, maybe I'll sway your minds by saying good things about a show that actually deserves to be talking about. As per usual, thanks for watching.